range. And then 24 hours later, Alexa Filippo, she went on ESPN and she was like, well, the players still aren't happy with that. And a lot of people are like, wait, why? What's going on? Like 1.1 million, that's a huge increase, because if you guys remember, the maximum salary in the WNBA for this past season was around 220,000. So obviously that's a massive increase if the max is going to go to 1.1 million. So fans were confused on that. And then Annie Costabile.
So, if you're confused, you're not alone. That's how most WNBA fans are feeling right now. The league puts out this offer for a max salary of $1.1 million. Then, just a day later, the players' union says they're not happy with it. Immediately, you see everyone on social media asking the same thing. Why would you turn down a deal that takes the max salary from around $200,000 to over $1 million? But here's the thing almost no one is talking about. That huge $1.1 million number might not be as straightforward as it sounds. The real story here is way more complicated than just players being greedy or owners being cheap.
Sports and basically said the $1 million offer isn't what it seems, and the 1.1 million wouldn't be their base salary. The base salary would still be that 850,000 number, and then you could get up to 1.1 million if you reach the different bonuses throughout the season. And honestly, you guys, these details do not matter. This does not matter. What has transpired over this last 72 hours doesn't matter.
Let's really get into what went down over the last few days. First, the WNBA went public with their offer. They said the max salary would be $1.1 million, the average would be about $500,000, and the minimum would be in the $200,000 range. Looking at it like that, it's a huge step up. The current max is only $220,000. So, for the top players, that's a 5-time increase. But then, you had Alexa Filippo go on ESPN and say the players still weren't happy. And, of course, fans went nuts. The comment sections just blew up. Then, a report from AJ Perez at Front Office Sports came out and completely flipped the script on what was really happening.
So I don't actually care so much this is the same kind of stuff that has been going on for the past 6 months. Clearly, both sides are trying to gain the approval of the public's opinion. They're trying to sway how the public feels about what's going on in the CBA negotiations. So was the WNBA lying and kind of boosting their story by saying that we're going to give the players 1.1 max salary? Sure, maybe. Or was the $1.1 million max salary increase falsely reported? Maybe they didn't report it properly and they said oh, it's going to be 1.1, but they didn't put in the caveats of what that actually means. And then on the other side,
so, according to that report, the $1.1 million figure isn't the guaranteed base salary. The base salary would actually be $850,000. To get to that $1.1 million, players would have to hit certain performance bonuses during the season. And all of a sudden, the deal looks totally different. You're not actually guaranteed the full amount just for being a max player. You have to earn that extra $250,000 through incentives. Now, it's getting messy. We have two completely different stories being told in public. The league's version sounds incredibly generous, but the players' version makes it sound like a bunch of smoke and mirrors. Fans are just stuck right in the middle, trying to figure out what's actually true.
Also come out and said the WNBA is just trying to put lipstick on a pig and this, that. We've heard everything from all sides. It doesn't change anything. It seems like they're at the exact same point in the negotiations, and I have no clue who to trust. And I don't trust anyone. To be honest, I do not trust what anyone is saying. And my mind is just just tell me if there's going to be a season next year. And I feel like that's the opinion of most fans.
And look, this is the real problem with how all of this is playing out. It's obvious both sides are more focused on winning the PR war than actually negotiating a deal behind closed doors. The league leaks their side of the offer to make it look as good as possible. The players then have to push back in public just to keep their leverage. And every little development gets reported like it's some massive breaking news, even when nothing has really changed. This has literally been the same routine for 6 months now. A leak, a reaction, some clarification, then outrage, and then it all starts over. The longer this drags on, the less fans are going to care about the actual details.
other things on television. They're watching football, they're watching the NBA, they're watching college basketball, and they're basically saying, like, go ahead, do your thing. Like, you guys can argue and figure it out or don't figure it out. Just kind of let me know if there's going to be a season. And that's just kind of how I feel at this point in time. Like, I think it would be a waste of my time to share with you guys the details that are being shared because I don't know if any of it's true. And we don't know what the WNBA players want. The WNBA players have never once come out and said, we want this max salary, we want this revenue share.
Just think about where we are on the calendar. It's January. The sports world is all about football right now. The NBA is going strong and college hoops is starting to heat up. The WNBA season ended 4 months ago, so all the casual fans have moved on. The only people really following these negotiations have already made up their minds. You've got one group that says the WNBA has never made a profit, so the players are asking for way too much. Then you have another group that's going to back the players no matter what they ask for, even if it's not realistic. Neither of these groups is changing their opinion based on whether the max is $1.1 million or $850,000 plus bonuses. So, you have to ask, who are they even trying to convince anymore?
Like, Kelsey Plum did an interview where she said, like, we want 50% of the revenue sharing, just like the NBA has. So that seems to be the number. I don't think there's any way that they get that, especially during this CBA. And I also think that there's certain camps right now with WNBA fans. I feel like there's a camp who believes that the WNBA hasn't profited in forever, and they think the women are asking for too much, and they're just always going to kind of side with the WNBA and be like, the players need to.
Now, let's get into what the players are actually asking for, because honestly, it's been pretty vague this whole time. The union has never come out and publicly listed their exact demands. We have no idea what max salary they want. We don't know the revenue share percentage they're fighting for. We're all just kind of guessing based on little pieces of information. There was that interview where Kelsey Plum mentioned wanting a 50% revenue share to match what the NBA players get. If that's really what they're aiming for, then we're having a totally different conversation about whether that's even possible for a league that's been in the red for most of its history.
Of the other off-season leagues that have been in the picture and how pretty much everybody in the WNBA PA or the people who are part of that committee, they are now all signed to one of these off-season leagues and some of these leagues that could rival the WNBA. I will just say this. I don't think any of these off-season leagues succeed in the long run, like past the next few years, if the WNBA is not a thing. The players who are playing in these off-season leagues, the salaries that they're getting in these off-season leagues, the worth that.
But here's what's making this whole situation even trickier. You've got all these other basketball leagues that have started up in the off-season. There's Unrivaled, paying players 6 figures for a 3-on-3 tournament. You've got Project B, offering huge paydays for 2 events. Athletes Unlimited is still around, but it doesn't have a lot of big names. And get this, most of the players on the negotiating committee have already signed on to play in these other leagues. So that brings up a huge question. Do the players even feel like they need the WNBA as much as they used to? Do they think they have enough power to just walk away if they don't get exactly what they want?
That they are worth is because of how they play in the WNBA and because of their brand that they've built because they play in the WNBA. And I do think if the WNBA ceases to exist or if they skip a season, like all this momentum is why the players are saying that they deserve more and they want their revenue share to go up as the years continue. Like as the league grows, the WNBA wants their revenue share to also grow with the league so that they are earning money. But all of that comes off the back of the last 2 seasons that they've.
But here's what's making this whole situation even trickier. You've got all these other basketball leagues that have started up in the off-season. There's Unrivaled, paying players 6 figures for a 3-on-3 tournament. You've got Project B, offering huge paydays for 2 events. Athletes Unlimited is still around, but it doesn't have a lot of big names. And get this, most of the players on the negotiating committee have already signed on to play in these other leagues. So that brings up a huge question. Do the players even feel like they need the WNBA as much as they used to? Do they think they have enough power to just walk away if they don't get exactly what they want? Let's really think about what happens if there's no WNBA season next year. It's the scenario no one wants to admit is possible, but it gets more real with every day that goes by without a deal. First off, the players lose their biggest stage. Every single one of these new leagues only works because the players built their brands in the WNBA. Unrivaled can pay Breanna Stewart $250,000 because she's a WNBA champ and MVP. Project B can sell tickets based on the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark rivalry that started in the WNBA. If you take that foundation away, those other leagues lose their star power. Second, all the momentum just stops. The WNBA just had its 2 best seasons ever, with record ratings and viewership for Caitlin Clark's rookie year. All of that momentum just vanishes if they take a year off. And third, and this is the most important part, the players who get hurt the most are the ones we never hear about. It's not the superstars like Stewie or A.A. Wilson. They'll be fine with their endorsements and overseas deals. It's the player on a minimum contract in her 3rd or 4th year who's just trying to make a name for herself. She's not getting a call from Unrivaled. If the WNBA shuts down, her career could just be over.